Good evening, everyone. We are live. Welcome.
Good evening, all.
Good
evening, everybody. Thanks for
everyone.
So, as you'll see tonight, we do not have Steve. Steve is working. He's on night shift. Steve won't be with us for, I think, the next couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, Algae Warrior, has stepped in all the way from across the pond to continue where he left off on the cliffhanger the last time of showing us his basement. Just when we thought it was one tank and everything was going well, he went, "Oh, but actually, I have these tanks as well."
There's 5 more behind that.
So yeah, we've got Garrett's back on, so we'll have a look around his tanks and see what's happening with that in a little bit. But we'll go around first and see how everybody is this week, what's been happening. So, Paul, how you doing, mate? How's things with you?
Yeah, really good. The tank has settled down. As you know, I had last week I had a power cut, and I reported on that. So since then, virtually all of the frags that are out of the water for 30 hours have survived, other than the purple stylo. The purple stylo tips have stripped. And I think we said before, purple stylo I always thought was really hardy. So the acros have survived, the digi have survived, the nana aqua have, but the purple stylo that died. So I'm going to have to. It's only the tips, only about kind of a couple of inches. So I'm going to have to cut those off. So I was pleasantly surprised of what's happened. But other than that, everything's okay. So I just got to take a bit of a haircut, cut some more frags, and sell some more frags off. I'm sending Gal's Zoa off on Monday. So that was his winner from last week. So I've sorted it out to send on Monday. I've got poly boxes in, so that's good. So I can send some more corals out now. So that was about it, really. Not a lot happening other than that, to be fair. Ross?
I think you've been pretty lucky with that, to be fair, mate, haven't you? That could have been way, way worse than what it was, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just basically the power brick busted on the M1 on the.
Which, to be fair, if that hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have really had much of a difference with the tank, would you?
No, it was only out for 3 hours. I've had power cuts for 7 hours before. It's been fine. I've got some redundancy on the tank, so I think the tank's all right up for about 12-13 hours. Unless it's in the mid of winter and the central heating goes off, which it would, then the temperature could crash. But 450 litres, that'll take quite a bit of time for the temperature to go down. Mm-hmm. It goes down really slowly, I've found. So it helps that it's quite a large mass of water. Mm-hmm. So and when it usually goes out for 2, 3, 4 hours, I'm not fussed at all. It's just a bit weird what happened, and I caught it and sorted it out. But I've got to say that the help desk at Ecotech was really good, in as much as they give me ideas of what happened. They offered me to send the pump back to them for them to have a look at it and do the diagnostics on it to see, even though it's way out of warranty, it's 5 years old. But I couldn't afford to do that, because sending a pump back, I'd be able without it for days upon days. So it was a nice gesture from them, but I just replaced it in the end.
So I take it you haven't done anything with the old pump or power brick. Have you still just got that as it is?
Yeah.
So you're not going to send that back or anything, no? No,
it's not. It's not worth it. I might. I might do some tests on it to see what it actually. I think it's the power on it, so I might be able to get a replacement for it. But we'll see. But the M2 is a really nice pump, as you expect. It's the latest model compared to the M1. But I was really happy with the M1. 5 years out of a pump, I think that's really good, as I said before. Even though it cost a bit of money, we averaged that over 5 years. That's pretty good value, I think. And I can trust it. So
I'd recommend that.
Yeah, I've got the S1 as well. That's on the other tank, and that works pretty well. So I would definitely recommend the Vectra pumps, because it's not the pump that's actually busted. I think it's
where's Vectra made? Is that Germany, or where is that?
It's Ecotech. I think I'm not too sure if Ecotech stuff's actually made in the States.
Is it States?
Or whether it's shipped from China. I think there was videos, weren't there, where you saw. I can't remember, was it Reef Builders or someone went round the Ecotech factory or whatever, and they made them in the States. So I don't know if all the pumps are made in the US, or whether some stuff's made in the US or some stuff's made elsewhere. Sorry, Garrett?
I think it was Worldwide Corals who went on the Ecotech tour, and I think they get a lot of their parts from China, and it's assembled in America.
Yeah. It's not a surprise, because if you look at the components, a lot of components are made out that way, aren't they? Whether they're in Korea or China, and I know a lot of chips are as well, which would go into them. but it's it's a really solid product. It's quite heavy. The M2 is actually heavier than the M1. I felt it, so they've beefed up that version up.
They do feel premium. Sorry,
I take it they're as popular over where you got at Ecotech as they are here. I take it they're quite popular in the States then, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're super popular. It seems like everybody has, at least some piece of Ecotech gear. And from what I hear, the service is outstanding. Like, they have a really good service department, and, they do what they need to do to make it right. So, it's a really cool company.
In the UK, the people I dealt with wasn't the online from the States. There's a distributor in the UK, and I've dealt with him. He's a really good guy, and they're really good. He's replaced all kinds of things for people when people have had problems, and he'll deal with stuff outside of warranty. Because usually you go to a company, if something's 5 years old and you've got a problem, most companies probably wouldn't bend over backwards to help you because you've had 5 years out of it. But to be fair, I thought it was really, really good. And I think the Vortex is still the #1 product in terms of power heads. I know Jabot, I think, pushes it quite hard, but a lot of people have got the MP series, I found, for certainly people I know, because they're reliable, and also you've got no cables in the tank, have you, which really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get like an extra wet side, it's so easy to just swap them out when you're cleaning. If you have the extra one, just swap them out, take the dirty one out, and start, putting it in citric acid or whatever you want to clean it with.
And it's pretty easy because you can easily twist it and take the cage off, can't you? And that makes it so much easier to then clean up all the components and everything else. But you put it in citric acid for a little while, get a toothbrush out, and they look spotless in an hour or so, I find.
Yeah.
Good water as well, that is. Spotless.
No, Jay, no.
There's your poll.
Banned.
Spotless water. I've had no issue with it, honestly. No issue at all.
And Steve put a couple of posts the other day, didn't he? On
Instagram. Steve's been using it for a while.
Yeah, he got bored with his KH Keeper because it's working okay, so he'd moved over to talk about Spotless, I think.
I just seen this comment here from Dragonfly saying Flux RX is a miracle cure. Doesn't look like much is happening, and all of a sudden each day there's less and less it breaks down. So on that one, my tank, pretty much the algae's gone, and I think it's 99% down to Flux RX. It's a fantastic product. Like, really, really well worth getting. If you do have any green hair algae, then that's the one I think to go for. I spent a while trying to get it, scrubbing the rocks, moving bits off and so on, and just wasn't doing anything, whereas that Flux RX is brilliant. So yeah, if anybody does have green hair algae, then jump on that.
Yeah, I've never had any problems with it. Like none of my corals, like in all the Flux RX treatments that I've done, I've never seen any adverse effects on them. And like I've only heard of one case where their fungia plate coral started to die off because of it. But I mean, it could be something else. It couldn't have been the Flux RX. There's lots of variables.
Couldn't it? You just don't know, do you? I think it's different to some of the other products, which some of the ones that look at killing cyano will take oxygen out. I know problems with it. People, you see some cases where I'm not too sure if people have just been unlucky, or they haven't dosed the right amount, or they haven't got the oxygen right. But this is probably slightly different, whereby it kills the algae without taking the oxygen out. Because I suppose with cyano, you're starving it, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I will say with mine, though, and I don't know if it's a coincidence like you said, Garrett, or not, but all my zoa polyps seem to be a good bit smaller than they were before. Now, I don't know if that's me psychologically thinking that because there's been loads of hair algae around about it, then it's gone and it looks different now, or if they genuinely are actually smaller. But the polyps themselves do look a bit smaller than they were before. So, yeah, that's the only thing I can see different, but I don't know if that's a genuine or psychological thing.
What happens to the urchin, Ross? If there is no algae in there, what will you have to do? Will you have to start feeding algae then? Do they kind of algae, or would you move the urchin on?
What I've noticed, mate, is see the urchin. I mean, it cleans a tiny little strip at a time.
Yeah.
So what it's been doing is cleaning tiny little bits, but in the time it's cleaning that, it's like your glass. The algae grows in the glass that quickly that it goes back in the rocks quickly enough, so it can just literally just keep going round and round and round and just eating. I mean, I wouldn't want to put any more than the one in there, but touch wood, that's hopefully going to be enough to keep that going. I mean, you can see the bits just now on the top that it's cleaned that are perfectly white, and then another bit, and then by the end of the week it'll be back up on there again. So it does work pretty well. I don't know if you do have to supplement the feeding at some point. I'm not sure, but touch wood just now, you should be going okay, mate. So I don't think you supplement it.
And the hat still works.
I was about to say, what hat's it got on?
No corals have still moved. Is that actually genuinely working? Keeping the hat
So
on?
that's genuinely working, mate. Hand on heart. So it's got the Garrett. Pay attention to this one, mate. Pay attention. It's got the top hat on it just now, but I do also have this little cowboy hat that I got for it. So basically, you set that on top of it, and it grabs it almost straight away and keeps it on the top. And then when it's going around the tank, because it's got this on its head already, it feels like it's safe. So therefore, it doesn't pick up anything. And I mean, I've got quite a lot of loose scrags in the sand just now, and I've seen it going right past them, and it doesn't even touch them. It doesn't pick them up. There's nothing there at all. And I mean, even the slightly bigger pebbles that's in the bottom, it's not picked any of them up. So touch wood, it's worked fine, to be fair.
Yeah. It's good.
I definitely need one of those.
Like a wind up though, doesn't it? When you say it's got a cowboy hat on and therefore it leaves all the other frags a lot, you tell it to people, they go, "What are you talking about?"
I assume it's picking the corals up to attract a mate. Is that what it does? I know a lot of animals try and kind of decorate their dens, as it were, or whatever. What is that? What it's trying to do when it covers itself in colourful corals? Is that?
No, I just assumed that it was trying to protect itself. So that's because it doesn't necessarily pick up corals. It can pick up bits of rock, like little stones and so on. And I've seen quite a lot of them that just have anything they can pick up in the tank on top of them. So I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But I think it's purely just down to a bit of protection for them.
Yeah. That makes sense as well, doesn't it? Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of mine, like my urchin in the BioCube, it picks up everything. Like it'll have little pieces of like my substrate, like the crushed coral, and then it'll also pick up like bubble algae too, and like at least it's not on the rocks, but it'll like pick it up off the rocks, and if it's loose around. Yeah. And then when I'm doing a water change, I just suck all of it up, right off of them, because it'll stick. I think they inadvertently pick them up just because of their spikes, because they're quite pokey.
What I did see the other day that was quite impressive on mine was it had spanned itself between the archway on my rockwork and the frag rack on the back glass. So the gap between that was bigger than the body of the urchin was. So it had its tentacles almost. You can see the little, little kind of, not as spines, but they've got little tentacles like
the little feelers.
Yeah. And it had them grabbing onto the rock on one side and the frag rack at the other, and the entire urchin was just suspended in the water, and then it pulled itself across. And I'd never ever seen that before, and I thought that was quite smart to see.
That's cool. You should have snagged a picture.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't turn out. But the other thing with that I thought was really interesting was that I'd actually took its hat and put it on its bottom. So basically where its mouth is, it was upside down. And then when it got across, it put it back on its head again. And I thought, is that in case it's still or? But I've no idea. So that was
party trick.
Absolutely genius.
It was quite a strange one. There's a couple of comments. I'm just going to go back a little bit here. Reef King says, get a tang to eat it. Now, obviously, my tank's only 15 gallons, so I don't want to be putting a tang in there. I dare say a bigger tank in, yeah, that's a great idea, but not in my little tank.
A cold tank, which is a beautiful tank, and I didn't realise you could. He's saying that you can put those in a nano, which if you can, that'd be amazing. But I don't know enough about the cold tank to say.
What size of nano though?
That's personally, they are small. One of the smaller ones. I personally wouldn't put it in a nano.
I put a yellow eye cold tang in my BioCube 32 gallon for a little while, and it did just fine. It was a great worker, but it was small. It was like a baby, basically like 2 or 3 inches across when I got it. So unfortunately, I had a fish go in there in an emergency case, and the fish gave it velvet, and it didn't last much longer after that. So yeah, that was a sad one to lose, because it was a really good worker, and it spent all day just picking at the rocks and making sure the rock work is clean and everywhere it can find algae. So
Yeah, it's harder to find utility fish in nanos because a lot of the best ones are for medium to large tanks.
Yeah.
Your copper band and your tangs and things, it's really hard. I don't really know. People can help me out here, but I know the algae blenny, that's small, that's nano, that helps clean things. Urchins, obviously, what you've got, Ross, but I don't know what else really, off the top of my head, is utility that is suitable for these little nanos.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an algae blenny that's in a big tank, and it's a great workhorse in terms of it takes the algae off the rock and also the algae off the glass as well.
Yeah,
but it does need a constant source of algae. So I suppose it would be okay in a nano, but it's ideal in a bigger tank because you've got sufficient algae just to keep it going. They love the algae rings as well that I put in, so they always makes a beeline for those, as well as the yellow tang that I've got as well. But they're great creatures. I mean, they're a bit boring in terms of colour, but their character and the way they move around is completely different to most fish you can get. So I think it's a great addition, regardless.
They're quite unusual, aren't they? And I think you do need the help, don't you? You need help to clean your tank and keep things going. I know, obviously, my nano, I rely a lot on the snails, which I know they're also not very exciting. You know, the colourful stuff and the nice stuff that is utility just isn't, for nanos. They tend to be much for much larger tanks. Gary, were you going to say something there about what you've got that helps clean for?
For algae blennies, they call them lawnmower blennies here in America. But I've had mixed success with them. For the most part, they're super hard workers and they do have really cool personalities. I had an instance where with one of the ones I had, there was an ick outbreak and I had to put all of them into quarantine. And so obviously I had to put some algae in there because he didn't have enough to eat in the small little tank. And so he eventually got basically hooked to nori, and he wouldn't eat anything else but that. I put him back in the regular tank after quarantine, and he didn't want anything to do with the rock. He's like, no, this stuff is super easy. I can just go over here and pick it up, and I can get full, so I don't have to mess with the rock work. And unfortunately, I ended up going on vacation for a while, and I had put some in there, but it wasn't enough. And he ended up, eventually starving out. I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's right there on the rock.
He was hooked on the good stuff. That's what it was.
I know. I couldn't wean him away from it.
Yeah.
But I like those. I have a Tamini tang in here, in this one, and they stay pretty small. And I also have a pygmy angel, which before I got the pygmy angel, the Tamini really wouldn't eat at the rocks a whole lot. And then once the pygmy went through quarantine and I put it in there, the Tamini saw that it was picking at all the rocks, and it was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I need to start doing that. So it kind of led to a good example of, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate seems like the copper band butterfly, doesn't it? That seems like, again, it's quite hard to keep and to look after, but that seems like the winner in terms of or Aptasia in particular, isn't it? I think.
I had a lot of luck with filefish.
Filefish,
yeah. I've heard they nipped at corals. Mine never did, but it really took care of the Aptasia. And after the Aptasia's gone with the copper bands, I see a lot of people have success with feeding live bloodworms to them. So it's kind of like an extra step, but they've had a lot of success with raising it. It's kind of cool because I heard they started was it aquaculture? I guess aquaculture. Captive bred copper band butterflies. So that'll be cool to see if they can breed them to eat mysis and all sorts of other stuff that we give the other fish anyway. So It's kind of cool.
Yeah. With the filefish, Garrett, did you find that it started taking care of the aptasia straight away, or it seemed to take a while to start clearing
It took a little bit. It took a while of it kind of, and it just kind of floats around. It's kind of a slow moving fish, just cruises around the tank, doesn't move out around a whole lot. And then all of a sudden I started seeing him disappear. So it takes like a week or two before I started seeing results. But I think they just have to kind of get comfortable.
Yeah, I found it took quite a while. I wondered whether they were starting on the really small aptasias to begin with that you don't really see. So I wonder if it was feasting on that, clearing that up, and then going to the bigger ones later. But I mean, I couldn't prove it. But I mean, it took care of a tank that I had, but I didn't have any corals in that tank at the time, because I know they like the fleshy corals, don't they? From what I've heard. But
I've heard they'll nip at zoas, and I never saw mine nip at any zoas. I had a few zoas in that tank at the time, and I never saw it. But unfortunately, I had a pencil urchin in there, which is a bad idea. Don't get a pencil urchin. But the filefish was slowly moving along the glass of the tank, and it got stuck in the spines of the urchin, and the urchin ended up like basically poking it to death. So that was kind of a rough one, but
you've had some hard times, haven't you?
Yeah, these things happen, but and it is tough. Like I hate losing fish. I hate losing coral. Like it's rough, but you learn from all your mistakes, and I hope to grow as a hobbyist. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Jay, here's a question for you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Black Pearl Reef, good question. So, I'd actually really like one of Ross's fish, his Hell Fricky Fire, whatever it is. It looks super cool. Loved your video, Ross, on Sunday. That was really nice. Yeah. The coloration on the back of it and the little the sail fin, it just looks incredible. Really nice fish, but 200 quid. I can't. That's out of my price.
I mean,
out of my price.
You can get them kind of anywhere between. I think the cheapest I've seen them is about £130 up to 200 up 200 way seems to be the more common price for them just now. Anyway. I noticed that actually when I was doing a bit of research, I noticed that is it AAC that's near you, Paul?
Yeah.
I noticed that they had a tank I think it was years ago, and it was on YouTube actually. I've seen it, and there must have been about 20 of them in there. So I don't know how they managed to get so many of them, but they had a lot of them anyway. That was a long time ago they put that video up, but yeah, you just don't seem to see them anywhere. So sorry, Jay, I kind of hijacked you there, but
no, I think your video was the first time I'd seen it, but it's a stunning little fish, and for a nano, what an addition! Really nice. Yeah. But I've got my eye on a fish, and I've gone to Ness's layer, plugged in bearded reef .10 or bearded reef 10. Got my discount. Nice. It's a fish that I've been lined up for about 6 or 7 weeks. It's the same one that Nano Reefer's actually getting as well. I saw that on his video. I've gone for the Flame Scooter Blenny, which just looks incredible. The reds and the yellows, and again, it's got that kind of fin at the back. This will be my 5th fish for the little Red Sea Max Nano. So I think it'll be full after this one. So I wanted something colourful and interesting. And these little scooter blennies just look really, really cool. Apparently, I have to feed it lobster eggs, so it's going to have a better diet than I am and my family. I need to get some lobster eggs in. But Ness's layer, great communication. They've organised when to post it. He sent me loads of pictures of the fish before I even get it. So because I'm missing it, he sends me pictures to show me what it's up to, which is great. It's all part of the customer service, isn't it? And I've asked for it to stay an extra week at Ness's because I was supposed to get it today, but I wasn't in to collect it today. So he's looking after it for an extra week. So next Friday on the live stream, you should be able to see it. It won't have been in very long. But the Flame Scooter Blenny is on its way. It looks like an amazing fish. But I think they're quite tricky by the looks of it. When you look at the difficulty, I like that. They do the difficulty, don't they? It's a difficult fish apparently. So hopefully I
Does
don't.
does it say why, Jay? It's difficult. Is it because of feeding that usually likes pods, but if it's on something else that makes it easier, or is it something else? Because I don't really know too much about them other than they kind of come from the dragnet family, which then they kind of tend to feed on pods.
Yeah, so like you all really, I always research, and I spent hours watching videos and learning about these before I buy them. So they are reef safe. Apparently they're a little bit slow at moving for food, but like you say, Paul, they're just, I think, a little bit fussy. So if they're not getting the right food, they kind of just starve to death. I think that's the main issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think when I was across at Nessie's the other week, Jay, I seen them and they were really healthy looking. To be fair, mate, they look good. I mean, they're smaller than I expected to be. They are quite small. They're not massive. But they're really, really nice colours on them. They're quite vibrant, and the way, because they sit there and then all of a sudden they just jump about the tank really quickly and then they'll move back. The personality in them, brilliant, to be fair. So,
oh mate, you get me so excited, mate. You get me so excited to get it in there and see it.
I might go across this week and just have a wee look at it for you and see what it's like.
Oh mate, are you going? Are you going the weekend?
I might go across. Having said that, did you see Bravo 20's comment here?
I'm getting one of the. Oh right, yeah. He said, "Is he getting the female? The female.
He's getting the better one by the looks of it.
You're getting the run of the letter.
Hey, better sort me out, Nessie's layer.
It's all right. It's more room to grow, Jay.
Well, that's very true. Yeah, very true, Garrett. I wouldn't normally buy. I mean, I've never bought a fish without looking at it, but I've had lots of pictures. I know you've seen it, Ross. It's been in quarantine for 3 weeks, which I really like the fact that it's been in a quarantine tank before it goes into mine. Yeah. But I am nervous about a fish in the post. I know we say that they come all the way around the world and stuff like that, but I hope it's not too stressed when it gets here, because it's coming from the amazing Bonnie, Scotland. And hopefully it arrives in the Midlands safe and sound, hopefully.
That's the thing. I mean, I totally get being paranoid, because I would be paranoid too, to be honest. If I bought a fish from down south and it's coming up here, I'd be paranoid. But you've got to remember, it gets bagged up and then sat in a plane and shipped over, then in a lorry. You know, so a relatively quick overnight hop from Scotland down to England isn't that bad compared to on a jumbo jet shipped across the pond, really.
Yeah, but I'm just worried if it comes with yodel, then our yodel, they just chuck parcels over the gate and all sorts. So you know what I mean.
I don't actually know who he uses to post them, mate. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping it travels in one piece and it's all right. But yeah, so next Friday it'll be in the tank, and there'll be a video on the channel. Plug.
Nice.
There'll be a video about it as well.
Are you going to get some live pods or something like that, just to put some of those in on the Friday, just to help it on its way?
Yeah, that's good. I need to put some on order. That's a good reminder. But yeah, I'll get some pods, Copa pods, and I'm going to get. I think I might get the ones that you kind of. Is it the first bite, frostbite, whatever it's called?
Yeah, those. There we go.
First bite.
Yeah. So the.
What? So you like? It's queued that up there, hasn't it?
He's got everything, hasn't he? But yeah, I find that the pipefish and the mandarin absolutely love it, and the rest of the fish do as well. So they're just easier to keep those than constantly getting live foods. Well, that might be worth getting, but yeah, definitely get some of those, Jay, and find out what else it's feeding on. Is it just the lobster eggs, or is there other stuff it feeds on as well? So you can at least then match what it's been fed for the last 3 weeks, if nothing else.
To be fair, he's given me a little profile of the fish, you know, in terms of pictures, what it's eating, how it is, the health. So Nessie's Lair could not have done any more to reassure me that that's a good fish to buy and a healthy fish to buy. Yeah. Obviously, Bravo 20's got one as well. Does he put there? Is it the female? I know they're ready today. Has Bravo 20? Has he got his today? I don't know. How's it getting on if he has?
I think he's already got one. I think.
Oh, is he getting two? Is it?
And he's getting a second one to go with it. Now you'll comment in a second, so I'm not really sure, but I'm sure he did have either one or two, and he's getting more now. They're such a stunning fish, and for being so cheap as well. That's the thing that I couldn't quite
believe they're so cheap. £30.
So cheap, yeah.
Plus 10% off with your code.
There you go, mate. What more could you ask for?
You're getting a lot of fish with a lot of colour for that amount of money. I don't know why are they really affordable? I think
it's because he buys direct from the supplier rather than going through, like, say, your TMCs and all that. Yeah. So because he's buying them direct and then quarantining them himself.
Yeah.
He knows what he's getting at. I think that's the reason he's cheaper than most places, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, but also to keep hold of it for 3 weeks and feed it and look after it. I mean, it's an additional overhead, isn't it, for him? So to sell it at that price, I know he's getting it direct, so he get a better margin in. But to actually then, like you say, look after it for 3 weeks, get it on frozen, that takes quite a bit of time as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So Bravo 20, Jonathan said he's got a Mandarin, but Jamie's missus is bringing them up and passing the next time he's up. So Jamie that owns Ness there, his missus actually drives all over Scotland basically for her work. So if she's passing somebody that's ordered a fish, she'll drop the fish off to them.
Oh, really? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a neat service.
That is awesome.
That's really cool.
Pretty good, I think, because I know that there was somebody else in the chat earlier. I don't know if it was Scott Morrison. Now he stays right up the top of Scotland, and I know that Jamie's missus delivered a fish up to him when she was going up that way. So that was quite a good little thing, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's a good message on there. Backshift reef is saying those ones from TMC, 50 to 60 quid. Because I've seen them around 50, £55, which is obviously substantially more than Nessie's layer. But you can understand if you're going through TMC, they obviously get a margin, and the shop's got to make a margin. But you can just see how much higher that is through them buying it through a wholesaler. I
know he did have a bit of an unfortunate experience because I think he ordered a box in. Now, I'm sure it was the Scooter Blennies. He ordered a box of 10, and when they got there was only one that survived, I believe. So, he has to take the hit on that. So, there's swings and roundabouts to ordering them direct.
That's the downside, isn't it? Because I don't think there's any comeback on that. You order a box and you take your chances, I think.
Yeah. Jonathan, mine's a male. I've requested a male. Just because I like that they've got bigger fins at the top when they, I don't know what they're called, but they fan them out. What's that?
They're prettier.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They look prettier. Yeah, they do look prettier. So I have requested a male, and that's what I'm getting. But super excited! I can't wait. Next Friday it'll be in, and nice. Video coming soon.
Sounds great.
There was a comment earlier asking if your lights were down low tonight because it looks that way in the camera, but I don't know.
Who, mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a reason for that. I don't know if Christian's still in the chat from Signature Frags. So I should have been late today because I've spent 2.5-3 hours at Signature Frags in Derbyshire doing a video for the video on the channel that's coming out on Sunday. Plug, there you go. Nice. We're going to do a tour of Signature Frags. It's absolutely amazing, this coal room. It's incredible. The website is only just a small section of what they do, and you'll see on the videos, you'll be blown away. But I bought four new corals.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I bought 4 new corals, so they're in there. And I turned the lights up right at the start of the video, and they were looking like they were a little bit stressed because obviously it's intense, and they've only just gone in. So unfortunately tonight, I'm just going to have to leave it to just be, go through its normal cycle. I don't want them kind of be getting stressed and bleached out. 3 of them are SPS, so they're a bit finicky. So I'm just going to have to leave the lights down today, but.
Can you say one of them is yellow?
Yeah, one of them is yellow. One of them is yellow.
Wow.
Light acclimating. Is that a thing? Light acclimation? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is, mate.
It probably is, isn't it?
My lights have got an acclimation mode, so I'm assuming that's the thing.
The Radians have, so you can bring it down and then put them back up over a period of time in the setting, can't you? I think you can go up to 6-7 weeks, and you can decide each week how it automatically then ramps back up to normal. So you can definitely do that on those lights you've got, Jay.
Yeah. Chris, is Christian still in the chat from Signature Frags? Am I doing the right thing here, just letting the lights go through their cycle? Or can I turn them up? Because I don't really know, to be honest. I don't want to kill them.
I would just leave them, Jay.
Just let
the tank at night. Obviously, the lights are beginning to ramp down. I would just leave it as it is, and then let them ramp up. So, what kind of intensity have you got? Does your lights usually run on?
Well, so this is the Radian Gen 5. Yeah. And it's about 8 inch off the water. And if I was to put it anything above 50%, it's just going to start, bleaching things out, and it's just too intense. To be honest, the light is too intense for this size tank. If you have it, any kind of level really that's above 50%. So I run it around about 45 to 47% intensity. That's the peak. And then obviously now it's dropping down to around about 20%, so it's much lower.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
just,
the SPS, if you put them up on the rocks, or are they settling in?
Yeah,
on the
so
sand?
there's 3 on the top of the scape now. They're only small. They're only small frags, obviously, because I've only got a small little nano tank. And then the other one, which is an LPS down here, is a Holy Grail. Another one. I've got 2 now. A Holy Grail Gonny. I don't know if you know what they are.
Gonny.
Yeah, Holy Grail Gonny. Let me try and find a picture of one.
He had what looked like a Holy Grail. Is it a Holy Grail ACAN maybe he had on his site that I've seen?
Yeah, sorry, that's kind of the same thing. Oh, I think that's. Wait, let's have a look.
A Gonny is different to an ACAN, Joe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Wait up.
So what one have you got? You got a Gonny Apora?
Let me have a little look what I've got. Christian, what have I got? This is me, right? I pick corals because of the colour and if I like them. Okay. What have I got here?
Did you have a shiny moment? Did you, Jay? You saw that and you saw shiny and you thought you had to get it.
I started off with I wanted 20 of them, and then Christian, who works there, just advised me my tank was maybe a bit too immature or not, ready for some of them. So some of the shortcakes and things, I was like, I'll have one of those. I'll have one of those. He was like, no, perhaps just So he's really good at advising you. And then I kind of narrowed it down, and yeah, got to the 4 that I really wanted and really liked. So yeah, loved it. Sorry, Garrett. Sorry.
Did you ask them what par they have their corals at? Usually I do, and sometimes they know, and sometimes they can find out for you real quick.
So he has his par between 360 and about 400, predominantly SPS coral beds. Now that's great, but I don't have a par meter, so I don't know where my par sits. Yeah. To be fair, Christian from Signature Frag said he'll come and test my par. So at some point he's gonna come down hopefully and test that. But yeah, that's where his par. So his are really bright. Yeah, so to be fair, they should be okay, but
yeah, I have a Sinai par meter, and that really helps me just know where my tank is at. Hello?
No, I think you're there, Jay. I think you're in that. You've got my Mackie D Wi-Fi tonight. I think,
yeah.
Jay.
Jay, your Wi-Fi is terrible now, mate.
I tell you what, Garrett, I've heard good things about the Sinai. Not only as a par, because I know people that have bought it purely for the par meter on it, let alone the slides. Because I know it measures ammonia as well, amongst other things. But I've heard good things from a par meter point of view.
Yeah. So from what I've gathered, it can perform the same as one of the Apogee, like MQ510s. BRS did kind of a comparison video of all of them a while ago, and I had to go back and check to make sure that, because there's some sort of formula where they take into the account of the water and the refraction rate and something like that, but Sinai will actually take that into account just as the Apogees were. So it's really good, and I've tried it out. It's great for the Sinai is good for if you're starting a reef tank and you're looking at the ammonia levels. It'll tell you where they're at, and it also measures pH, temperature, and water level too. So
do you have to pay a subscription to that, Garrett, or is it all included?
What's that?
Do you have to pay a subscription for that? Because I thought I'd read somewhere you have to pay a monthly fee for it or something. Here's kind of the downside to the Sinai, because you can get an extra module to just hook the Sinai up to, and that's what you have to. I believe that's what you have to use the monthly subscription for, is the monitoring service. But what I did was, I just plugged my computer in
and had that on power. And if it stays on your computer, you can monitor it that way.
Right, okay.
Since I don't really use my computer for anything else, I was able to use it for that. But you know, you also have to buy the slides too. There's like monthly slides that are good for 30 days. And so, you know, if you want to continue to monitor the pH and all that, then you'll have to replace the slides, which I mean, if you're cycling a tank, you know, usually in this day and age, it takes about a month, sometimes longer. I mean, depending on if your cycle stalls or not, but
it depends what you're using, isn't it? Whether you're going to do it naturally and just add a bit of ammonia, whether you're using some of the other bacteria like a Dr. Tim's or ATM colony or something like that, because that can help accelerate it, can't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean in terms of the it's varied, isn't it? If you're doing it naturally. But yeah, I've heard about the slides. That did put me off about it again. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many different ways to cycle a tank, you know,
yeah,
like I think BRS announced yesterday that they're going to do an investigates on cycling a tank, and they're taking 12 different tanks and cycling them different ways, like, you know, taking substrate from an established tank and putting it in a new tank and kind of monitoring it, you know, one with dry rock and dry sand and just water from an old tank. So that should be a pretty interesting series.
But the thing is, Gary, that's a bit more than just cycling, though, isn't it? Because cycling, people see that as just getting the fish in. But what they've done a lot before is really around using new rock, no sand, and how that affects the biological filter on it, and it creates a lot of algae and instability. Whereas hopefully they're going more than just a cycle, because they've been talking quite a bit recently around it's a lot more than just that first month. It's kind of that first, how do you get through that first 12 months? And what's the best way of doing that by them being in a position to get your corals to thrive and not be inundated with nuisance algae and cyano and dino and stuff like that. So I'm hoping, because I haven't seen what you're talking about, it goes like kind of the long cycle, which would be more about the maturity of the tank. That's the bit that I definitely would be really interested in, because I find that quite interesting. People say, well, I've cycled my tank to put fish in, and then they go through all kinds of problems. And actually,
but it's really not ready.
That's probably the easiest bit. Getting to the point where you put fish in and they're okay is the easy part. It's getting through that next, I don't know, 6-9 months, I think, is the most challenging in trying to get your corals to thrive and not have loads of rubbish in your tank.
And you know, like what else is in your rock if you have dry rock? You know, like it could be phosphates and all sorts of stuff bound up in there that you don't know about. And like, you know, I cycled this rock. I cooked it in a different tank. Did the ammonia cycle, and then it went through a diatom bloom in that tank before I even started this one. And you know, I still ended up with problems, you know, even after 4 or 5 months of, you know, cycling the rock, making sure that, you know, it was denitrifying. Going through that cycle, and I still had problems, you know. So it could have been with the sand too. I mean, it's crazy, all of the variables that you can run into, you know, especially that first year starting the tank. It's a whirlwind. And, you know, if you make it out on the other side, you're doing all right. You'll be fine the rest of the way.
I saw that.
So there's a comment here that says we're 43 minutes in and still haven't seen another fish tank. So I think, Garrett,
that's a good prompt, isn't it? Yeah.
We're going to move on to you now, Garrett, and get the full tour tonight, because you left us on that massive cliffhanger the last time of where we were at. So
we should go ahead and get started talking about these other ones.
Screen, Ross?
Yeah, I'll put you full screen, Garrett, so everybody can see.
All right. Over to you, Garrett, and then we'll just interrupt as you're going through.
All right. Let's see here.
Okay.
So we haven't seen a fish tank, but we can see a tank.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
There we
to
go.
do with the fish tanks, is it?
Oh, that's the filter.
Oh, that's my water heater.
Aha. Garrett, I've got a quick question for
Wow.
you. See, last time we were on the stream, did you show us a coral that like you touched and it changed colour? Did I imagine that?
No. That's real. That's real. That's it's this one back here. It's kind of hard to see. It's that one right there.
So I was
Chain
trying to tell somebody
chain
about
reaction.
that at the weekend, and I couldn't remember the name of it or what it was. I was pretty sure it was you, but what's the name of that? Sorry, mate.
So what I did as they called it was a chain reaction coral.
Okay.
And I've talked to several different people about it to see if they had any idea. But the closest I could find online was called a blue colt coral from a vendor that I found. So it's a super cool coral. But yeah, this tank, actually, the leathers are kind of sulking right now because they're going through a shedding event. This one's done. But yeah, I have I think that's like a little toadstool right there, and it kind of been polyps have been retracted, and it'll probably start shedding off some skin shortly. But that's kind of what went on. But yeah, this is my macroalgae tank. It's got like a gorgonian. And actually, that's better. This is full daylight spectrum. So gorgonian. Then I got like all of this Caulerpa racemosa called sea grapes, and this stuff grows like weeds. It's crazy. It just grows all over the tank. And,
so do you have any fish in that at all, Garrett, or is it just a standalone tank? Or
I just put the first fish in there. Let me see if I can spot them.
Is that a fairly new tank, or is it quite established? It looks quite established.
It is. So this is the tank where I cooked all of my rock for my big display over there, and so it's been running for a little over a year, and I've gotten some other rocks from like tank breakdowns and stuff. From like locals in my area. Yeah. So I got a lot of like Fiji rock that is like, it was like 10 years old. And so that's pretty well established rock that I've been adding to the tank. And then I've been trying to grow my copepod and amphipod population. Let me see if you can see those little guys in there.
Oh yeah, just see them hanging on no more actually.
Yeah, those are little amphipods, but really big copepod population in here, and I was getting it ready for I have just got a blue mandarin dragonet this week, which is like one of my dream fish. I've wanted it for a really long time, ever since I first saw him, but he's still kind of getting used. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Hold on. Let's see if I can get him. He's right underneath that cave there.
Yeah, you can just make him out a little bit.
Just see him and no more.
Oh, yeah. There he is.
Yeah.
He is a pretty boy.
I don't think I've ever seen one of them before, to be honest with you. That's nice, isn't it?
They're lovely fish, just the way they hover around. They're just so beautiful.
Yeah,
I've never seen one that color.
Yeah, they have a green kind as well, which is green with like some grayish spots. But I really like the blue one. If he would come out into the light. But yeah, they like being in caves a lot. And there's a lot of caves for him to hide in, so that's what he mainly goes after, and that's where he spends most of his time. But he's been venturing out the past couple days and getting a little bit more bolder and hunting down all the copepods that are just all over this tank. So
So was that the
That's great.
purpose of you setting up that tank, was so you could get that fish, or was it just a kind of thought afterwards?
It was a thought afterwards. You know, for a long time, this tank was like kind of just like an overflow tank, and
Okay.
anytime that I took a rock out of one of the other tanks to rescape, it would just go in here. And then I kind of did like a redo of it to where I put some substrate in, and then I arranged the rocks a little bit nicer, and I weeded a lot of this macroalgae out, but it grows pretty quick, so you got to kind of stay on top of it, otherwise it'll just grow everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I also have some of my Sinularia frags over here, so that they can start growing up and filling out before I ship them off to my LFS.
So I take it you don't put the algae in there for like any of your algae reactors or anything, any of the sumps or anything like that, no?
Well, I had some of this in the BioCube, and and that's all I had for filtration. I had like just a filter floss, and then this with like a cheap, like $20 Amazon grow light on the back of it that I had a timer on, that grew it. It was on a reverse cycle from the tank to try and help keep the pH a little bit more stable. But I took it out when I did the fluconazole because that would have just killed it. So I kept it in here. And so I just decided, I'll just make this a macro tank and run the BioCube super simple. So, I mean, it just has a hang on the back filter here, and then a heater, a simple little float valve, and then this Amazon panel light. It's like Bosley or Lassie it goes by. But, I mean, it's a good light. It grows.
So there's a question here that's asking, how do you keep the nitrates and phosphates high enough with such a little bio load?
So every time I feed any of the other tanks, like with the fish in it, I'll put all of the leftovers in here, just so they'll break down, like some of the really big fish chunks, because I do have some other like bristle worms in here too, and there's a brittle star in here, so they'll clean up anything that's left over, like the big fish chunks. And then I'll also give it different coral foods throughout the week too. Like I use Barrier Reef Labs, Reefroids, Gonio Power is really cool, and then also Benepets too. So whenever I feed any of the other tanks, I'll go ahead and put it in here too.
Yeah.
And then I also feed, to get started, I also feed baby brine shrimp as well. I just started this batch, so they're not quite ready. But
so do you culture your own, I take it then? Yeah, is that what that is?
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. I think this was like $20 on Amazon. But if you see there that all the eggs are on the outside, and then once they hatch, the little brine will swim like underneath the little guard there, and they're drawn towards the light. So they're all like come up here, and then all you got to do is just pick it up and strain them out and pop them.
That's a really good idea. That I've never seen that before.
That is so simple. I've done it before, but I use a small bottle, cut the bottom off, and then use an air pump. Put the eggs in the top, and then 48 hours later they're all ready, and just obviously sieve it through and pour it into the tank. But that's a far easier way, albeit I use just a plastic bottle, and it works really well because I've bred some cardinals. But I like that. That is really good.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's super simple. It's easy. It's easy to do. Like usually whenever, and I can harvest it about 4 days before all of the brine shrimp start kind of growing up too much, because the more they grow up, they lose nutritional value.
Okay.
So like every 4 days, usually I'm doing a water change around there anyway. So I'll just dump some old water into it to start it off,
Yeah.
and just keep it going from there. But super
That's good.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, my chromis absolutely go nuts for this stuff. They will just shoot all over the tank. But they really like it, and I feel like it kind of helps out the ecosystem too, because like eventually it'll get to the corals and all the other cleanup crew and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I usually use baby brine if I'm starting a new tank, and in those first few weeks, I'll put live pods in. I'll put live brine in as well, just to help the
yeah.
ecosystem with just live food, even though there isn't any fish in there, just to help, because I've heard it helps in terms of managing algae and just to help the
Mm-hmm.
tank get some life into it, where it's so sterile with dead rock and dead sand, I suppose, new sand. So I found it's a good way of just populating the tank.
Yeah, the more biodiversity, the better, I think.
Yeah.
The more types of life you can get in there, the more beneficial it'll be for your reef or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my fish quarantine system. Pretty basic. 2 hang on the back filters. There's an air stone that's off right now. And then I got some media in there, kind of make a fish hotel. A lot of fish like to hang out there. And
That's brilliant. So is it you empty it and then you clean it, and then when you know you're going to get some fish, you start cycling it and get it ready for put fish in?
Yeah, I mean it pretty much stays cycled, and I just maintain the salinity,
Right.
which is really easy. I have this like nozzle right here, and I got my water container, so I just top it off every now and then, just to keep it going. And I've seen like a bunch of copepods and stuff in here, so I know it's good for fish to go in and get quarantined. But
so do you usually treat the fish, or is it more of an observation tank?
So I do like about a 2 to 3 week observation. If I see anything, then I'll treat with copper. If not, then I usually go another week or two extra just in case. And so after the copper treatment for usually around 3 to 4 weeks, then I'll pop them in. But yeah, I've been pretty successful with doing copper so far, and so I feel pretty confident about any fish that I may get that may have something pop up that I'll be able to fix it okay. And then let's see, this is my I guess Sinularia nursery. This is like the mother colony that I picked up. When I first picked it up about 4 years ago, it was less than an inch. And then it just kind of, blew up over the years, and it got so big, there wasn't a tank I could put it in where it didn't take up the whole thing. So I just decided to, make this kind of a nursery where all the frags could heal. And I've kind of been, testing, letting them attach to different stuff. Like there's like a seashell right here that it attached to. And then, I've been using like toothpicks to try and attach them to rocks. Sometimes they'll go to rocks and I can glue those rocks to flat frag plugs. So I'm just kind of playing around with it right now. And then I'm also going to use this for the invert quarantine. When I start getting some more inverts in, they're going to stay here for about 3 to 4 weeks before they go into some of my tanks.
So that's something I'd never really heard of until recently, was people quarantining their inverts. But it makes sense, to be honest with you. I think it's a lot of people should do, but nobody really seems to do it that much.
Yeah, I've heard like a lot of stories of, people where the only thing they'll put in is some inverts, and all of a sudden they have a nick outbreak, and it can take out a whole tank pretty quickly. And so, ever since I started hearing those stories about that, I'm like, you know what, that's not like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
And you've got the tanks to be able to do it, so it's
right. Yeah, if I have the
isn't it?
room and the tanks to do it, all I have to do is just be patient.
Yeah.
And I don't feed much to this one, but I give it like phytoplankton every now and then to try and keep the pod population alive, and then that's about it. Yeah, these are pretty low maintenance corals. I just have like it's a aquanite, Hipargero from Amazon, and I just have it suspended here.
Yeah.
And pretty simple. Two little hang-on back filters to try and get some flow, and a heater.
Yeah, I noticed that most of your smaller tanks you have the hang-on filters. I suppose that's just for ease of use, isn't it?
Yeah, it
For
is,
smaller
and
tanks, you don't need much else other than that. What do you keep in there? A bit of carbon and
yeah.
floss?
So in this one, I have carbon and floss right here, and then for this one, I just have floss. And that's about it. And they really don't need that much changing out because it's a fishless system. So, it's very, very low bio load. But what I've also been doing is I've been changing this water out. And when I take this water out, I'll pull some old water from this system to put it in, just so it has, some nitrates and phosphates. And I don't start getting dinos or anything like that that starts killing the coral. And then also when I do a change on the BioCube, I'll change it out with this water too, so I can maintain the nitrates and phosphates that way, because the BioCube nitrates are about 10. So that usually gives me...
Speaking of that, there was a comment back up here from Rudra. He was asking, does this eat up a lot of your time, Algae Warrior? I mean, balance, work life, family, hobby, so on.
Yeah, so I try and keep it as simple as I can, so I don't have to do like a whole lot of maintenance. When you can like chain a couple of events like that, where you go ahead and knock out 2 water changes just by mixing 1 batch of salt, then that I can consolidate. But I've been able to balance my life kind of well. I do work at home right now, so it's easy for me to come down and feed the fish on my lunch break, or mix some kalkwasser or something, and or start a batch of salt just on my lunch break or something like that. So that's been a blessing, I guess, to keep all of this alive. But
so what tank do you use the kalkwasser on?
I use kalkwasser on this one right here. So I have just like a calc mix, and then it goes through the I just have a single Kamor dosing unit that doses it to the tank, and it just pops in right here. I also have kalkwasser in the ATO on this one. Just experimenting with it, seeing the advantages and disadvantages of doing it this way.
It's convenient, but you could say it's inconsistent, isn't it? Because it's purely dependent on how much evaporation you get, and does that then give an inconsistent dose to the tank?
Yeah, and this being in the basement, it stays pretty consistent throughout the year. But I have noticed, some weeks it just evaporates more, and a lot of times I'll have the windows open to try and keep the airflow down here, and because your tanks are kind of breathing the air too. So I want to try and keep it good and keep the pH.
It helps with the pH, doesn't it? Having the windows open and just getting some fresh air in.
Yeah. And so the Kalkwasser in this system in particular has been super solid. Like it's, my pH is anywhere from 8 to about 8.3. It tops out at, which I'm happy with.
Which is pretty good, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then my alkalinity, I've been testing it like every single day for the past few weeks, and it's been rock solid at like 8.3. It started dropping down a little bit, and then I just upped the dosage on the Kamoer, which is really easy to do. And, it's been super solid, like 8.2, 8.3 every day. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So dare I ask, that tank where you got the Kalkwasser, you got a cover over the tank, haven't you?
This one?
No, the other tank, the one where you got the dosing pump on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
so
see.
yeah,
Right. Okay, that's the tank you've come from. Right, I'm with you. I was thinking, are you hiding something? But that's the right. Okay.
So just keep the light out, I take it from the window.
It's keeping the light out. It's just easier to see.
Right, I'm with you.
But yeah, every now and then I'll take it off just so I can look at this side.
It's a peninsula, isn't it? Or that kind of peninsula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And it's easier if you have the black backdrop to like take pictures and videos and stuff. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But this is the most recent tank. It's still in the cycling stages, but it's doing pretty good so far. Right now I have a 6-line wrasse in there right now, which is doing pretty good. It was kind of an accident that he went in there because we're starting to round up some fish and doing some tank work in my biocube, and all of a sudden I hear something like a splash, and the 6-line wrasse had jumped out, and it was on the floor about like 2 or 3 feet away from the tank. And so I just decided to pop this one already in here, and I put in some cycled rock to kind of seed the tank. But it's just kind of cycling right now. I did put this leather that used to be in my peninsula in here just to kind of see how it would go, and provide a little bit of a life in the tank. And I just got this it's an actinic T5 bulb from API, and then I just have this like regular shop light above. But this is not my tank. It's the ladies of the house. I picked this up for free off of my local reef club. Someone got it for free and was, just kind of passing it along. And I picked it up that day, and she was like, "Man, I kind of like this tank." And so she was like, "Oh, give me that rock I bought." And then she put it in there, and she's like, "All right, I claim it. This one's mine." So like, all right, whatever you want to do.
You've got to do that to kind of allow you to have all the rest of them, don't you?
Exactly. If I were to keep this, she said, "All right, you got to take at least one tank down if you're going to have that tank." So now I get to keep all my tanks.
Gareth, what's all the mesh? What's all that mesh about?
This is like a makeshift jump guard.
Okay.
Just so that the wrasse doesn't jump again.
That fits like Steve's did.
Yeah, I need to get like a kit from somewhere that'll fit on the top. But they got really cool ones.
Is there anything in there, Garrett? Is there any fish in there?
Yeah, there's a 6-line wrasse in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of see him.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
he's cool.
just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I think
So
that's.
someone
I think
said
that's what's-
earlier on, good luck trying to get the 6-line wrasse out, especially if you're going to try and put some other fish in, because they could be quite territorial, can't they?
Yeah, so all of the fish that I'm going to put in here are going to be from this system. So they kind of already know each other, and they're all kind of jerks anyway. So it works out.
It's going to be the jerk tank, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like all of the clowns are going to go in there, and I think possibly the dotty back as well.
Oh, nice. That's a nice mix then, isn't it? That's definitely fit for a bundle, isn't it? Between a 6-line wrasse clowns and a dotty back.
Right. A whole big jerk family. But this is the sump. Super simple, nothing in here yet. We're just kind of waiting to see if like used skimmer comes up on one of the forums or something. But you know, don't have a lot of bio loads, so this filter sock's been, you know, doing the work. And I got heater. There's a J-bow pump and just like a regular float valve for auto top off.
Yeah.
That comes from here. And then for heating control, I got this bayite. I don't know if you can see it really well, but
yeah. It's kind of different to the ones that we get over here, but it's the same kind of principle, I dare say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got like a heating plug and a cooling plug, and you know, you can set it real easily to, you know, put on whatever you want. But yeah, this is only $25 on Amazon, so it was a nice option.
Yeah. What's quite interesting on that, before the DD controller came about, when I first started the hobby, most people built their own temperature controller. There was loads of videos on YouTube, but people used to get all the different parts from Amazon and all kinds of places. Now I think you hardly see anyone building their own temp controller, because the DD controllers are so easy to set up, whereas before people were paying other people to make them for them. That wasn't that long ago. That was probably no more than about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a lot of DIY ones.
And this is
not another tank that's bigger than mine. I think this is the 7th tank. This is the 7th tank, I think.
This is number 6.
Number 6 is I don't do maths. I'm rubbish at maths. It's incredible. This is.
Yeah, this one's been up and running for almost 4 years now, and it's gone through a lot of changes. But yeah, I think this is one of my favorites. It's really cool. It's basically Zoa dominated. I have a few, you know, there's an Acropora right here.
What's on the back wall? Have you got a plating Monty or something on the back? What's that?
That's a Leptocerus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a pink Leptocerus. And I did this kind of recently. I just stuck there was a Zoa rock that was kind of not growing the way I wanted to. I wanted these top little two to grow out more than this, like, it's a pink mohawk polythoa that just goes crazy. So I wanted to encourage these to grow out some more. So I kind of stuck this on the back wall so that the Zoas can kind of go on here and then go up the back wall. And
that'd be really cool if the Zoas grew on the back wall. I don't think I've seen that before, but it'd be cool if it did.
I don't think I have either. And yeah, I'm kind of, you know, interested to see how it works and if it can work. So it was. I don't see why
it wouldn't, as long as they can grab onto it. It should work.
Yeah. I mean, from my experience, if it's a surface, those will grow on it.
Yeah.
Just went around the house.
And then I got some others. You know, there's a plate coral right there, and this is a pagoda cup coral. It's kind
Mhm.
of like an oddball. Got
Here's
some
a good
more.
comment for you, Garrett. Is electricity free in the US? Somebody's asking.
I wish. I wish. No, it's gonna get a little bit more expensive if I can find a metal halide to go over that, because that's what she wants to put on it for lighting,
Yeah.
is a metal halide. So yeah, it might go up. The electricity's not too bad though. I mean, like, I have a dedicated breaker down here for basically all my equipment, but the power usage isn't terrible. I mean, I'm sure we could knock a few dollars off if I shut all these tanks down, but that's not going to happen. So
And
I think everybody here is just
for
jealous
the
that
halide, because the halides are quite expensive. They run quite a bit of juice, don't they?
yeah, they
Back in
do.
the day. Yeah.
I'm probably going to be putting like a 250 watt on there, and yeah, they suck up some juice and they put off some heat too. So that's why I wanted to have like a fan, a heater controller that had one for cooling as well, so I could put a fan on top if it does get too hot.
So I take it you
Mine's
heat
a-
every tank. You don't have the room set to like a temperature to try and keep them all the same, do you?
No, because there's only one vent down here for heating, and I don't have any. This house was built in like 1860, so it doesn't have any air conditioning either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of rely on heaters to keep my tanks nice and stable at a good temperature. I run my tanks a little bit higher in heat. For most of them, I go about 79 degrees. I think it's like 26.6 Celsius or something like that. And then this tank right here runs a little bit higher. It'll go up to about 82 some days, because I don't have a controller on this one yet, but I do want to get one.
So why do you run it around, I suppose, about a 1 to 1.5 degrees higher than a lot of people run their tanks? Is there any reason behind that, Garrett?
One is to stage off like dinos. It helps the heat. I feel helps take prevent some dinos from establishing. And if I keep it a little bit higher too, because if the power goes off for some reason, it's going to get cold down here. So I want there to be kind of like a buffer zone in the order to do it. And then also Dr. Tim has said that when the bacteria like a higher temperature when they're proliferating. So I kind of use that as a guide too, just to kind of keep it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I really haven't seen any ill effects. But I do have some bubble algae in here that I'm going to be getting an emerald crab soon to try and take care of that.
So I take it you've had your fair share of all different algae given your name then, Garrett, yeah?
I think I've battled all of them. I think the only one I haven't battled is it was like that stuff that Reef Dork had on one of his rocks. It was like that.
Bryopsis? Was it Bryopsis?
Bryopsis.
No, was that Bryopsis? It looked like a lettucey type of was it Clerpa? I don't know, but there's a couple that I haven't battled, but I've pretty much battled all of them, and I kind of have a set way to get rid of all of them. I've gotten rid of bubble algae before with Vibrant, But you know, I've just, from other people's stories and kind of what I've gone through myself, I don't think it's like very stable for the aquarium. I know some people dose it on regular occasions and you know, have no issues at all. But when I dosed it maybe a year or two ago, one of my Favias started to decline, and it got real bad, and it was a huge colony, and it ended up perishing eventually. So that was kind of a tough loss, because I'd grown that out for about 3 years. So that was kind of tough. But yeah, I've kind of tried all sorts of products. I tried Razor. I've done this, gosh, what is it called? This Continuum. I've tried that, Vector Clean M, and that didn't really work a whole lot.
You got some product there. You compete with Steve, because I see you got 5 products there, and you got another shelf below with quite a few as well.
And one above too. Yeah, so I got my hydrogen peroxide, my witch hazel, a little bit of iodine, FluxRx, and then this is all my copper stuff, like copper power and some Pravi Pro for medication.
What do you use the witch hazel for? I've heard that before, but I can't remember what it's used for.
Which one?
The witch hazel.
Oh, witch hazel. I'll use this for like if a coral is not looking so good. It's kind of like an antibiotic. So you could do. Sometimes I'll do like an iodine dip, and then I'll wait a few days, and then I'll do a witch hazel dip. Yeah. I've actually dosed witch hazel straight to the tank before, which helped recover a few of my corals, I think. So that was kind of an experiment. I heard it from Mike Paletta, and so I just said, yeah, I'll try it if he's had success. And then this stuff is awesome. It's a plastic epoxy glue, and what you do, it comes in all these beads, and you just get some like super hot water and melt all the beads, and it forms like a really workable putty that you can. It's actually what I used to put that rock on the back of the wall, and then I also used it to mount a couple of the frags like this one. So it works really well, and it's, you know, super moldable.
So it just go like a plastic then once it sets, does it? Or
yeah. It'll once it cools down, it'll harden, and it'll just form a really solid bond. I like to sandwich and do like glue, epoxy, then glue, and then the frag plug or whatever I'm gluing. And then I got some other, you know, like I was low on iodine, so I had to get some of that. I was super low when I did my ICP test, and I was running a refugium. I was low on a bunch of different trace elements, and Kato Grow basically replaced all of them that I was deficient in.
Yeah.
So that's specifically for when you got cheetah, because I know it sometimes does suck out elements, doesn't it, that can have an adverse effect on some of the corals. So that's specifically to replenish those.
Yeah, and like all of my zoas were all closed up for months upon months, and so after the ICP test, I did some research, and you know, like it has potassium, boron, carbon, calcium, chlorine, iron, magnesium, manganese, molybdenum, and cobalt, nickel, sulfur, and zinc.
So it's a mix, but mostly the minor elements.
Yeah. So that's really helped. As soon as I started dosing that, along with the iodine, because it was almost undetectable on the ICP test. It was
really
yeah,
sucked it
no
out.
reading at all. So yeah, that helped a lot opening up the zoas too. I found was the iodine,
Yeah.
and then I was also low on like bromine and lithium as well, so I had to get those. But yeah, other
You should open up your own store there, mate.
Element cupboard, isn't it? It's just full of the different elements that you've got in there to supplement the tanks.
yeah.
Do you use Triton ICP? Is that what is giving you the information about your elements?
I used ATI.
ATI.
Yeah. So, which is good. There's another company in America that I want to try out. It's like icpanalysis.com, and they have like there's the ICP machine, and then there's like I believe it's called a mass spectrometer, and it's supposedly a lot more accurate than the regular ICP machine. And so I'm gonna test that out to see how that goes and what I get. But you know, for ATI, it was about a week and a half turnaround time. I got a pretty good turnaround time, but I've heard a lot of people, you know, comment about them and saying, oh, well, you know, the water is going to change in the bottle or, you know, everything like that. But I mean, the trace elements.
Think it should have any effect on it in a bottle for a couple of days, should it?
Yeah. The only thing I can probably see it affecting might be pH. I don't know, because the water's not moving and it might degrade, but
it's not really the biggest importance in that, though, the pH, is it? You'd be more looking to all the other elements.
I really want to know if I have all the trace elements I need and if they're at the right level. So that's like the main, you know, importance for me. When I'm doing an ICP test, but
so when it comes to doing your maintenance on these tanks, then Garrett, I take it you basically have one big container of salt water that you mix up and just do water changes in each tank, or is it all on one system, or how does it work when you do your maintenance on these?
So when I do maintenance, I fill it up salt bucket by salt bucket. These are about I fill it to about 4.5 gallons. And so that's usually what I do on all of mine. But I try and make it easy. So there's these tops here, and then I was able to find these that are like, they're usually for like brewing, for home brewers and stuff to fill up bottles. And so I got some of these, and it's really convenient because when I'm doing a water change, I can just set it on top of there. And then put it in, and then it just gravity feeds.
Yeah, that's really good.
So while the water's going in, I can just, you know, do whatever I want and clean the skimmer, or the pump head, or whatever. So that kind of makes things a little bit easier. But as far as making water, this is what I got over here. It's just a basic Brute trash can. And then I got RODI filter here. And got a little float valve. And then I put one more nozzle on the bottom so I can just fill it up here. And the float valve, makes it easy, you know. I built this stand to, you know, kind of keep it elevated so I can just put a bucket under there, fill it up, and you're good to go. And then my my float valve doesn't always work, so I have this watchdog water alarm that saved my butt quite a few times from a flooded basement.
That just alarms if it overflows, does it?
Yeah,
basically,
so it has
detector, isn't it? Yeah.
It just has two contacts down there. Yeah, and then like if this does start to overflow, it flows over this side and it'll hit right on the watchdog alarm. And I've been woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning because I forgot to turn the water off.
I think, to be fair, everybody's been guilty of leaving an RODI unit on at some point, but fortunately I make mine outside in the garden, so I'm not too bad, but you hear stories all the time of people flooding their house with them, so.
Same here,
Yeah,
Ross.
you overflow yours, you're just watering your garden, right?
Yeah.
So Ross, because I take mine outside and make the water outside. Do you do it in the winter as well? Because I quite often make in RO and it's snowing out and stuff like that, because I dare not bring it inside because I just forget about it and flood the house. So I've always made my RO outside.
Yeah, I only started making mines probably, I think it was about March this year, February this year, so we've not really had any really bad weather since then. I have made it outside, but it's been raining and so on, but I literally just take mines out. It sits in a little plastic kind of storage box. I take that out, sit it outside, make the water that I'm going to make, and then I've just got valves. So I've got a valve on the inlet, a valve on the outlet, and a valve on the waste. So I close them and keep it full of water, so it doesn't ever dry out. And then I just put it in that storage stuff and bring it back in again. So I think regardless of the weather, even if it was snowing, I could still chuck that outside, set it away, and for all the hassle it would be. I mean, worst case, I probably could make it in my utility room, but I think it'd be better making it outside all year round, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. I've got a tap on, as you say, the free pipes, and just plug it in. I've got a massive poly box that goes over it. So I'm not saying it keeps it warm, but it stops it from freezing in the winter. So I've made water before when it's snowing, albeit it makes it really slow, because obviously the colder the water, the longer it takes to do it. But I'd rather do it that way than flooding a room, because that's such a pain. But I do like the idea of that kind of leak test unit you got there, Garrett.
Yeah, I think it was like $12 or something, but it's already paid for itself with all the water I've saved and the backache I've saved from not having to because I don't have a shop vac down here at the moment, so I just have to get towels to sop it all up and drain it into a bucket.
Yeah.
So do you guys have to pay for water over there as well then, Garrett?
Yeah, we're not as fortunate as you, Ross.
Yeah. I wondered, because I know that the English guys pay for it. I wasn't sure in America if you guys paid for it or not.
Oh man, yeah, they really tax us. And it fluctuates throughout the year too. So it runs a bit higher in the summertime than it does in the winter. Yeah.
Just because the demand to take it.
Yeah, just the demand. Everybody's using it to water their gardens and everything like that, and it's depleting the reservoir, so they have to charge more.
There's quite a few people putting in the comments about flooding floors and now making our outside and stuff like that. That's just a complete nightmare, because whatever you do, you're always going to forget it's on, because you end up doing something else. So there is absolutely no way I'd do it in the house. It'd be a complete nightmare, and I wouldn't trust the float switch either to switch it off, which is obviously where you've had a problem from time to time, Garrett, on that.
Yeah, I think I can count on my hands the times that the float valves actually worked. So I might have it. Yeah, I might have it put too high in the reservoir, so it won't actually float all the way to the top and shut off all the way. So I don't know. Eventually, I want to get like a hydro system and kind of have it automatic to where there's like a solenoid, and then that cuts the water on and off, and then like a sensor actually in the container to where once it touches the sensors, it'll just cut off the solenoid.
Yeah,
that sounds great, but it also sounds like a big lot of trouble.
It does, because you're adding like 2 fail points to that. Like the sensor could not work, and also the solenoid cannot work as far as like shutting on and off. So
I've found solenoids to be very sticky if they're not getting used all the time. They seem to stick quite often, so that could be an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's been quite a few comments in the post around Bengai cardinals. So obviously I know you've got one in this tank.
Got one. Used to have 2, but so they became a mated pair, and they actually bred, and I was able to. That's how I first started hatching the baby brine shrimp, was for the fry, and it was a crazy time, and I wasn't able to feed the fry as much as I wanted to. We were in the middle of a move, like moving to this house, and so we ended up losing the fry. And then after that, it seemed like this is the female right here, but it seemed like she was pissed at the male for not being a good dad or something. I don't know, but she ended up bullying him, and he kind of starved out.
Yeah.
And which is kind of crazy.
That happens quite often, that the male carries the eggs as soon, and during those, I think, because I've bred cardinals before, then once the eggs are gone, they're hatched or losing them, the female then dumps more eggs and it starves again, and it bullies them until they get it. So quite often you hear about people that breed these fish, they'll then separate the male and female so that the male can then get its energy back and start feeding again, because if it happens time and time again, they'll just starve.
Because
they're constantly being fed eggs when they haven't got them in the mouth. And it's wonderful to watch them have the eggs in the mouth, and then when they open the mouth, you see all the eggs inside and everything else.
Right.
But a little bit of sympathy there, that then that time they don't eat a thing.
So they can't eat anything in that time because they got their eggs full, and he was pretty emaciated by the time that I got the eggs out of his mouth. And it was like I think it was about 4 or 5 months that he survived, but it seemed like he just wouldn't eat. He stopped eating, and it looked like the female was bullying him for food, and
Yeah. So what do you feed that Bengal? Because there were some people in the chat talking about the Bengals don't usually take flake, but they'll take pellet, and they really like mysis shrimp and really, I suppose, meaty foods more than pellets or anything else.
So I tell you something that all of my fish eat pellet wise is this Nios True Algae right here.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like super soft pellets.
All right. Okay.
And kind
nice
of like
small,
various sizes and stuff. But
do they float or do they sink? Or?
They sink really well. Or I'll feed some right now. You can tell the clowns are ready to get some.
Yeah, they're waiting. Yeah, they like that.
Yeah. But yeah, even the finicky fish, and you see the cardinals munching on it, and dottybacks having a good time too. So they all seem to like it, and it gives them some good veggies too. And it's got like spirulina and some other stuff in it.
Yeah, I noticed on the glass there, Garrett. Is that cucumbers you've got on the glass? Yeah.
So this is a yellow sea cucumber that decided to split again. This will be the second time that she's split, and one of them is right here.
Oh yeah.
And then there's another one like right underneath there, underneath right there.
I actually only found out last weekend when I was over at my local fish shop that they actually split. Because I seen them in the tank, I had loads of them and asked what they were, and they told me that they split, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they'll split, and so they'll split in two, and then the back half will grow a mouth, and then the front half will grow a butt.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and they kind of split like mad. I have two in this tank as well. There's one right there, and then one right there.
I take it they don't grow that big then. Is that them? Is that kind of as big as they get?
That's kind of as big as they get before they start splitting, and they like high flow areas, and because they're filter feeders, they'll take their mouths out and get all the particles in the air and or in the water column and eat.
So I take it they're not eating algae or anything off the rocks. They're purely filter feeding then, are they?
Yeah, purely filter feeders. every time I see their mouths out, usually I'll feed them like some coral food. They really like Gonio Power and Benepets. And then I'll also see them do reef roids as well. They'll also eat whenever I blow off the rocks or stir up the sand bed. They'll also munch on like that detritus and all that little sort of, particulate stuff. So
yeah,
they
so
may
it's
not
particles in the water column, isn't it? Really, what you're saying depends on what it is.
Yeah, but they, I'm happy with them. They're pretty cool. They move around like all the time, just to find like a particular spot that they like, and usually they'll stay there for a few weeks, and then they'll move on or split. But
Cool.
Yeah, they are really cool. It's fun little cleanup creature that I have that I really like.
So what's your favourite coral you've got out of all the tanks then?
Oh, man. That's tough. So probably, I mean, it's kind of weird, but one of my favorites is the branching GSP.
It does look nice. Looks different as well. Like you say, branching. You don't see them very often to be branching.
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, and it'll encrust a little bit, but like all of these just shoot straight up. And like the main branch or whatever, it's actually like 3 different tubes that have polyps that come off of it. So that's one of my favorites. And then I really like this one right here. This is a golden basket full spectrum, and it's hard to see, but it's like mainly like a light reddish, almost pink, and then it has like kind of this goldish copper color, and it'll go into like a dark green at the base.
Okay.
But that one's really cool. And then I also like this stylophora, bird's nest Seriatopora, just because it grows so quickly. But this one, I also really like this Oregon tort. Being from Oregon, I've always wanted it, and it's kind of hard to see in this light because it's a blue coral, but it looks really impressive.
They're quite slow growers, aren't they, Garrett?
Super slow growers. Yeah, I've had this one for about a month now, and it's just like barely encrusted. I think it's grown like a centimeter maybe, and encrusted over the rock. It started to encrust over the plug and go onto the rock. So, and then I really like this Goniopora right here.
That's nice. Yeah,
I'm
totally enthralled by the branching GSP, because I don't think I've ever seen a branching GSP.
I've never seen one.
So did you buy it as that, or did it just happen?
I bought it as that. Yeah, it was. I've only found it at one place in California called Coral Collectors, and they do live sales every now and then. And then, it was something that I had always wanted, and I really just had to have it. It's the same place where I got the chain reaction coral right here.
So is it California you live in, Garrett? I thought you were on the East Coast.
No, I'm in Oregon.
Oh, sorry. Right, okay.
Yeah. So, I'm right on the West Coast, the Great Pacific Northwest. And this is another one I really like too. It's a Bernard Pora. Kind of, they also call it a microgoni or short polyp Goniopora. But it'll just kind of encrust, but it really gives a good pop of color to the tank.
Just looking at the comments, Phil's got some branching GSP. don't know if anyone else has, because as I say, I've never seen it before or any pictures of it or anything else. So
No, I've
maybe it
never
is
seen
more
it.
common than I think it is, because all you see is the standard ones that encrust over, and people say it's running wild, but that one looks pretty much, it's not going to go all over the tank, as you say, it's going up and out, so it's better control of it.
It likes growing up rather than growing out, because it's encrusted a little bit, but it's not like you would normally expect. From GSP to just go crazy and start growing all over the tank.
It reminds me of a Christmas tree.
It does, right? Like a
Yeah,
nice big green evergreen. It's
I know.
just, you can kind of see like the way the tube forms, where it's just like it's just kind of a tube and kind of open ended, and they're just kind of meet. But if it does start to grow crazy, I can always just pop it off this rock right here.
You've got it separate, haven't you?
Yeah, so I can detach it from the epoxy and stuff and just put it on its own little island over here if I need to.
Yeah. So what lights you got over that tank? Because obviously you've got SPS higher up, and then you've got a mix of softies and some LPS around the edges. So quite a lot of intensity of light on that.
I have 2 T5s, and then I also have 2 AI primes.
Yeah. So the T5s are excellent for SPS, aren't they? Historically, people had T5s for years, and it took a while for LEDs to take over.
I think it looks
T5s.
like a little conifer. It's like a little conifer tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the lights have been working out really well. Did a par test recently, and I'm getting about 300 to 325 around the SPS area. And I've kind of spaced it to where, like, around here, like the lowest light area of the tank is about 75. So it's good for, like all these little mushrooms growing.
Yeah. So what's your future plans for the basement then, Garrett?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess my next step is trying to get more rock work into this tank. For this one, I'm pretty much done. There's like a few corals that I want that I'm trying to source, and then like, I have one area right here where I want to put like it's called a Kojiwata Nephthya. It's a beautiful like white and pink coral that is super cool. So that's what I'm thinking there. And then I don't know, maybe some zoas down here, but this tank is pretty much done. I think the only other thing I might get is maybe one more fish, which I'd like to get a yellow-banded possum wrasse like Ross has. Those are really cool. If I could get like a pink streaked wrasse or a 4-line wrasse, I would like that too, because those are both really small, but they're kind of hard to find. So
the little possum wrasse that I've got, to be honest, he's come completely out of his shell now. I mean, he's at the front of the tank all the time, and he did hide
swimming
to start
around.
with, but yeah, and
That's
it's brilliant
awesome
to watch him. He sits and picks all the live stuff off the rocks, so you see him just sitting picking at the rock work, and he's brilliant to watch. Like, I would highly recommend getting one of them. But
yeah, I think that's like pretty much the only fish that I need some sort of like pest control, just in case, I don't plan on adding a whole lot more frags to this one, but
what's the dimensions, Garrett? What's the dimensions of that tank? It's quite hard to tell how big that tank is.
Let's see here. So I want to say, this way it's about 15 inches. And then from here to here, it's like 3.5, almost 4 feet.
Yeah. So it's quite a slim tank then, isn't it? Because you're saying it's about 15 inches
Yeah.
Sideways.
Yeah, it's only 15 inches sideways, so I kind of had to be smart about my rockscape, and this is like the fourth time I've kind of restructured the tank, and I went through a fallow period, and I wanted to make sure everything was good, and I got the flow right too, because I think the flow on these peninsulas is probably one of the hardest things to do, to try and get the flow right to where you need it.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing is putting this J-bow right here, and so you'll have the two nozzles coming out of here, and kind of the point where they meet is right at this section, and so they'll come down and kind of blast them with random flow, all the SPS areas.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes for a little bit lighter flow on this one, and like a really low flow in this area for the mushrooms, which I wanted a little place just for mushrooms because I really like those.
Yeah. There's a question in the comments around, do you have any issues with the chromis? Because I know people have very mixed experiences with chromis.
With these two, I haven't really had an issue. So at the beginning of this tank, one of the first fish I had in here was a blue reef chromis. And it's a really cool fish, like super dark blue scales with kind of like a black band over his top fin area. And he was in there before these two were in, and they seemed to get along just fine. And I really never had any issues with any of them at all. The blue reef chromis ended up just like, it was eating completely fine. Everything was okay with it. And then one day I just found it with, a little hermit crab pecking at it, which was tough because that was like a fish that I kind of like from the start. I said, I want this fish. And so, it was kind of a bummer that, the blue reef didn't make it and these did, but I haven't really had any problem with them as far as like aggression or anything like that. Every now and then this pygmy angel right here will nip at the bigger one, and it's not bad though. He just kind of like nips at the tail, the other one nips, and they're like go their separate ways. It's kind of just like a little feud. But I have heard of people, keeping multiple chromis, and they'll just pick each other off one by one.
Yeah, that you hear a lot of, and there's quite a few comments that whenever someone gets sick, you end up with 3, and they do seem to pick on the weakest, don't they? And it just goes throughout the group until you have a much smaller number left. I know some people can have experience where they don't lose any, but it does seem to be quite common that you lose quite a few.
Yeah, there's one YouTuber that I used to watch. He doesn't have a channel anymore, but Billy Pipes. He had like 6 or 7 chromis, and they just started getting super aggressive, and he didn't know why. And when he started to think about what he had done differently to the tank for that week, he remembered that he had put the moonlighting on and had some of the moonlighting at night, and he thinks that could have like created some aggression to where the moon was out and they think that they should spawn, and so they just started fighting and picking each other off. So
there's a few fish like that, isn't there? There's antlers are like that for picking one another off as well, until they get down to a small number, and our tanks are just not big enough. You just can't have enough numbers to take that aggression away.
Yeah, like if some of these schools, like, they only work if there's like 50 of them or something, like some really big number. But everybody in here, They're feeding right now, but they feed okay with each other. They're definitely fighting for food, but yeah, they seem to kind of leave each other alone and be okay. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant to put anything else in here, because I don't want to mess with like the vibe of the tank, like all these fish are used to each other. There's no aggression. They're, they're okay living symbiotically together. But,
yeah, there's always that risk, isn't there, that something goes in, upset it, they start going to a certain area that another fish has said it's their own, and that kind of thing, and then you start the squabbles and that, and it just has a knock-on effect around the tank. You could be right, you put a fish in and it's absolutely fine, there's nothing to worry about, and other times it can have a ripple effect across the tank, can't it?
Yeah, it'll just be like a wild card fish where it just like comes in and it just, it starts messing with others' territories and sleeping spots and all that, and can kind of disrupt the tank. So I don't really want to do anything like that, but I would like to get, maybe just one more fish. I think the bioload can handle it. I don't run my skimmer at all. I ran it a little bit this week just because I blew some sand off, and I fed pretty heavy, but I mean, it's like super thick stuff. And but when I ran it too much, I would just strip out all of my nutrients, and it just worked too good. So even with keeping it off, my nitrates are sitting around 2.5 for this tank.
That's pretty low. That's the balance you need, isn't it? That you need some nitrates in there for your softies. You can't have too much for the SPS, as they'll start to brown out a little bit. So it's getting that balance right, isn't it?
Yeah, and like everything is looking pretty good. All the things are fluffy. I did have a bit of a scare this week. For some reason, like all of these polyps on this side of the bird's nest, they just shrunk up and retracted back into the skeleton. And so I was like, okay. I was looking at the pygmy angel. I'm like, all right, is it nipping at some of the polyps or whatever? And some of the polyps retracted in, he wouldn't be able to get to anyway. So I was thinking back on, like what's changed in the tank. And that's when I realized about on Monday, this pinyon tree right here, it started to shrink up and started to molt. And shortly after that one did. And so I think it was releasing a chemical that was, upsetting some of the polyps. This Poecilophora was a little shrunken in as well. But I just popped a bag in of some, what is it, Chemi Pure Blue. And that seemed to let the polyps come out more and seem to get some of the bad toxins out of the tank.
Yeah, you do hear that about softies having some warfare with SPS, and the SPS never win in those situations.
Yep. Yeah, they will lose every time. And it's like something that I kind of forgot, because like, anytime that I would cut like one of these leathers or something, I would always put like a fresh bag of carbon in, just so that there wasn't any chemical warfare throughout the tank. And it's just something that kind of like, I had a cranium flatulation and I didn't, realize it. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, put some carbon in there. And it'll be good.
Well, I think that's us nearly out of time again, lads.
Is it? Oh, man.
Wow, that's gone quick.
That's went really quick tonight, doesn't it?
I
was about to go on to the next subject. I was like, all right, what else we got?
Yeah, that was a very quick one tonight for me anyway. It flew in.
Man.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for showing us around your basement, Garrett.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
That was awesome, Garrett. Thank you so much for showing us around.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's good to have you on. It's one of those that it's always good to
it's
see stuff. I mean,
incredible.
we don't even have basements here in the houses in the UK. Well, some people do, but most of us don't.
Not
So
many.
I wish I had the space for all those things.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am really fortunate to have all this space and room for my obsession. But
Yeah. So on that one, if you haven't already, I've linked Garrett's channel in the description of this one. So go and head over and check out Garrett's
Cool.
YouTube channel, and I think his Instagram's in there as well. So you'll be able to check out his page. So if you could do that and subscribe to him, that'd be fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm about to put out a little update cinematic video for the macro tank, and
Nice.
I'll whoever wants to name the fish, if I hit 5 likes, I'm gonna pick my favorite fish in the comment. My favorite fish name.
We'll do that. We'll have a look at that, mate, and see what we
Yeah,
can do for you.
absolutely.
There's Mogsy just jumped on. Evening, guys.
Hey,
Just come on break.
Hey,
Catch
hi,
up.
Steve.
So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Garrett, for that. That was really good and enjoyed that one. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Next week we're on your channel, Paul.
Yeah, we're back on Fishpalace next week. Yeah, I'll put up the link in due course.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll put the banner out for next week. Let everybody know where it is. So that's us done for tonight. Once again, thanks very much, Garrett. Thanks to you guys for joining in, and we will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks all. Thanks for dropping in. Really appreciate
Thanks,
it. Cheers,
guys.
Garrett. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Have a good
Take care,
weekend.
people. Have a
Thanks.
good one.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.